from the audience, is that correct? Yes, it is. Look, the lights came up in just the right way. There's a human there. Yes.
Just enough so I can read my card. My name is Margaret Gabriel. I'm from Aliso Viejo, California. Thank you. Orange County, so I go really, first I want to say really appreciate the MS Now Live team for coming to the West Coast. We're very excited. My question is for Rachel. In episode 2, you highlight Carl Bendetson as being in a fortuitous position to implement his plan since the man in charge, his boss, was a buffoon. Keyword. As I listened, I swore I sensed a teeny bit of insinuation to 2 individuals in the current administration. Now be honest, were you thinking of them when you wrote those words?
I can't quite hear you. We'll just have to move on to the next question. There is yeah, that's not just an archetype. That was, that is I think there is a pretty direct analogy there. Listen, I mean, I think it's a really interesting political and indeed moral question. When we talked about this a little bit earlier tonight, the idea of infamy. If you do something terrible, should you be forgotten or should you be famous? And there's an argument for both of them. And I think that the fact that General John DeWitt has sort of, if anybody has taken the fall in history for Japanese American incarceration, is General John DeWitt, is deserved. He deserves it. But I do think that the guy who was the brains of the operation is named Carl Bendetson. But I'm ESP communicating to you who I'm thinking of in this moment. And it's a pattern that we can see when you've got a guy in charge who's willing to take the heat and indeed sort of enjoys it and likes this relationship with the press and likes to say things that aren't true that get attention and is happy to be seen as racist and happy to be seen as transgressive, and that's part of how he acts in the world. That's a great person to hide behind to effectuate something that is truly nefarious, that comes from the same racist place, but that actually needs a brain to run it. So Carl Bendetson ought to be famous, and I think that to the extent that the Donald Trumps of the world are going to be retaining their evidence for their accountability in the future, so should the people who work for them as Deputy White House Chief of Staff.